Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Zohran Mamdani. It's great to be here with the brothers and the sisters of this masjid. And I'm the first Muslim elected official to ever run for mayor in the history of our city.
Takbir.
And before I begin, I want to ask everyone here a question, which is if you can raise your hand if you were born outside of this country. Many. Most.
Hey guys, I hope you all had a lovely Juneteenth. I'm just getting home after crisscrossing the city at events, and today marks 5 days until Election Day. So I actually created a playlist for Mira, who also happens to be my mother.
Yeah.
You know, nepotism and hard work goes a long way. We had to find a studio to record dialogue for one of the actors to perfect their accent.
I get messages that say the only good Muslim is a dead Muslim. I get threats on my life. On the people that I love. And I try not to talk about it. Because the function of racism, as Toni Morrison said, is distraction. My focus has always been on making this a city that's affordable, on making this a city that every New Yorker sees themselves in. And
down for you. Hit the ground for you. Make a sound for you.
Go ahead, make a rap for you, Nani.
It's a rap.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we gotta talk about the New York City mayor's race. The Democrat primary that I think is going to decide the future of the Democrat Party, okay? Are they going to, at the very least, stay where they're at right now, which is a far-left party? Or are they going to just go full mask off, far-left socialism? That is essentially what Democrats have to choose between, because it seems like this race is going to come down to Andrew Cuomo, the disgraced former Democrat governor of New York, who has scandal after scandal after scandal that is currently dragging him down, and Zohran Mamdani, who is a radical Muslim socialist who's running on free everything, okay? And again, if this guy wins, which again, he is gaining momentum in this race, okay? But if he wins, that will basically solidify the far, far, far left takeover of the Democrat Party, okay? It will essentially be a sign for all the lunatics and the freaks to start running for office, okay? Because they all will believe at that point that they can actually win, okay? And again, they will take over the Democrat Party as the DNC is currently going broke, right? We talked about the DNC losing money. The base of the Democrat Party, they're definitely mobilized against Trump. They're just not mobilized for Democrats, right? And that's a big, big, big problem, right? If Zohran Mamdani actually wins, then that will signal that the formula, at least to win a Democrat primary, is to be as Trump deranged as possible and to be a socialist, right? To basically advocate for free stuff, okay? Which would be an absolute disaster for this country. So with that being said, you have the Democrat establishment. They're now jumping in to back Cuomo, okay? James Clyburn, who allegedly is a kingmaker in the Democrat Party when it comes to black voters, has endorsed Andrew Cuomo.
All right, Democrats agree they need to take on Donald Trump, but they can't seem to agree on their own future. And that bitter divide is playing out right here in New York City in the race for mayor 3 days from the primary election. Up-and-comer Zohran Mamdani has emerged as a favorite of the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, winning an endorsement from Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, as well as Senator Bernie Sanders. Meanwhile, former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo has the backing of more legacy Democrats, despite resigning his governorship back in 2021 under a cloud of sexual harassment allegations. Now you can add South Carolina Congressman James Clyburn to the list of those backing Cuomo. Clyburn said that the mayor of New York is, quote, uniquely positioned to play an important role in the future of the Democratic Party. Here's Clyburn earlier on this network talking to my colleague, Reverend Al Sharpton.
I've been working in politics and civil rights almost over 70 years. And so when you develop these relationships with people over the years, you don't just drop them. I'm just for Cuomo, and I've been for him for a long time.
As calls grow for New York City race to be a referendum on the party's direction. Quote, Cuomo winning will not only legitimize the Islamophobia that has dominated this race, but also prove that you really can just walls in and buy an election, said one observer. Yeah, so this infighting between the Democrat Party here, right? The fight between the establishment and the socialist / communist is playing out on MSDNC, right? Because on MSNBC, you do have a representation for the socialists, right? They won't have any MAGA representation on MSDNC, but they'll have a socialist representation. But also at the same time, MSDNC is a representation of the establishment Democrats. And that's how you end up with segments like this.
Basil and Cameron are back with me. This is actually, and with all due respect, Basil, this is like a generational issue. So it's great to have both of you with us. Yeah. I want to start with you. Yeah. He, in his endorsement, I want you to give me the big picture of why, first of all, it matters or it doesn't matter, James Clyburn's endorsement. But second of all, the idea that, you don't drop someone after 70 years. He's been in politics for 70 years and you don't drop someone suggests the idea of loyalty to a person as opposed to evaluating the moment in time and what is needed for the party and going future. And that's what I had an issue with that endorsement.
Let me tell you the issue that I have with it. If he talks about Andrew Cuomo being the future of the Democratic Party, I would tell you that there are 13 women and an attorney general sitting in the state of New York right now that may beg to differ about whether or not he's really the future of the party, with all due respect. Because at this point, you're seeing exactly why, and I have a lot of respect for Jim Clyburn, but you're seeing exactly why a lot of young Democrats are like, I want nothing to do with this party. Because we have a big tent. But if you're going to come from South Carolina into New York and make an endorsement and say, I've known this person my whole life, well, there are a lot of other people running for this office that aren't under investigation, that you may not have known your whole life.
So how much do you think this is about actual support for Cuomo as opposed to Cuomo is the leading candidate, again, among people of color in particular in New York City, and the best chance to defeat the socialist candidate? Like, there are a lot of other people on the ballot, but they're polling in the single digits. Well, so is it pro-Cuomo or anti-Mamdani?
Well, that's a very good question, because I feel that a lot of the support, even for Eric Adams, who's not in the primaries running in the general, there are a lot of people that had issues with Eric Adams, but they saw him as a firewall against more progressive Democrats, progressive governance. And I think there's some of that with Andrew Cuomo as well.
We've got MAGA billionaire Bill Ackman. Bill Ackman, who is leading the fight against diversity, equity, inclusion, has supported Mr. Cuomo, and Mr. Clyburn has joined Bill Ackman in doing so. I'm very concerned about the crisis we are facing in this country of moral decline. And I think that the Democratic Party has the opportunity to offer moral clarity to people. But right now, going to women and saying, hey, if you are a survivor, your story doesn't matter to us, your experience doesn't matter to us, we are no longer going to protect you from men like Andrew Cuomo. Well, that's why so many people don't trust the Democratic Party anymore. There's no moral clarity. If someone like Andrew Cuomo, keep in mind, the Democratic Party kicked Al Franken to the curb, right? Al Franken, get out of here. Mr. Cuomo, credible sexual harassment allegations, suing women for their gynecological records, only traumatizing them further. And then it's like, oh, no, he's Italian, guys. Haven't you met an Italian grandpa? It's disgusting. And I think that if the Democratic Party wants to gain any trust back, people like Andrew Cuomo need to be seen as a very, very dark thing of the past. We are seeing right now a Democratic Party that seems to be more focused on throwing progressives under the bus than it does standing up against MAGA. So when someone like Zohran comes in and says, we are going to fight for a future, I'm going to promise you hope, and then Andrew Cuomo pulls up and he's like, no, guys, it wasn't sexual harassment. And also, don't worry, trust me, everybody, the senior citizen
promising people a bunch of things that the mayor cannot deliver, won't that just lead to more disillusionment?
Well, it's hopeful. Examples of the stuff that can't be delivered by the mayor.
Okay, he can't raise the corporate tax rate. He can't raise the tax rate on higher income people. He can't make buses free. All of that's controlled by Albany. Those are core promises on his campaign.
It's an interesting point, because let's say Andrew Cuomo does become mayor. what's his relationship going to be like with the sitting governor that replaced him and the state legislature that had a horrible working relationship with him in the first place? See, these are things that we should be talking about. And go into your point earlier, because I think it's an important one I need to talk about. Because
quickly,
if you're saying,
I'm being told I got to wrap.
Because if you're saying, the biggest concern I have is because if you're going to look away from the issue that caused them to resign in the first place with respect to women and Me Too, is he going to do this for black people?
Yeah, see, now you heard that. Okay, what you're witnessing is the Democrat Party crumbling under the weight of its own wokeness, right? Because progressives are rightfully pointing out that the establishment supporting Andrew Cuomo is hypocritical. The reason why it's hypocritical is because these are the same people who come out here and talk about how much they love women, right? How much they're against Me Too and, sexual harassment, stuff like that, right? This is their side of the aisle, okay? This is their side of the aisle. But yet you're supporting an alleged abuser, right? In Andrew Cuomo, a disgraced governor. You're supporting a guy who has so many scandals that at this point, I mean, he might just be the most scandal-ridden Democrat primary candidate that we've seen, right, in a major race ever, right? I can't think of any major Democrat candidate that has more scandals than Andrew Cuomo, right? But Democrats are supporting him regardless because they don't want the far leftists to win, right? They don't want the far left progressive takeover of the party. Now, I don't want people to get confused, okay? Because the Democrats, they're still a far left party, but they're not that far left, right? They're not so far left that they're in the territory of the AOCs and the Zohran Mamdanis. Now, don't get me wrong. They're headed in that direction. That's where they're going no matter what, right? Eventually, the lunatics and the freaks are going to take over. It's not about if, it's about when. It's about how long is it going to take? How long can the dinosaurs of the old guard hold off the lunatics, right? Is the takeover going to happen now or is it going to happen later? It matters because in the election coming up, in 2028, in the Democrat primary, if the progressives actually have the momentum, they could end up completing the takeover of the party if they win the primary. Like, for example, if an AOC wins the Democrat Party primary, yeah, it's over, right? They're taking over, okay? You're going to have, again, Democrats, they're going to be winning primaries left and right, and it's going to be over for the old guard, right? The old guard, again, they're already struggling with money, okay? They're struggling with support. Nobody really likes them, right? Their own party doesn't like them. Yeah, they're losing. They're dying out quickly, right? And Zohran Mamdani winning this race, again, would actually be a nail in their coffin, right? Again, this is why they have essentially aligned against them and aligned with Andrew Cuomo. So the progressives are pissed off, right? And again, the reason why they're pissed off is because, again, they're seeing the hypocrisy of the Democrat Party. It looks as if Mamdani has about a third of a chance of winning, which again is way too close, right? To be comfortable with, right? In regards to this dude actually, again, has a chance, right? He has a decent shot of winning, okay? Cuomo is still the favorite, but Mamdani, again, has been gaining momentum, okay? In New York, they're currently doing early voting, and then in a couple of days or so, they're going to have their election. They're going to have the election day, and we're going to see. But again, Mamdani is gaining momentum.
Alongside former Governor Cuomo, recent polls show another frontrunner in the crowded field for Tuesday's primary election here in New York City, and that's State Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani. CNN chief data analyst Harry Enton is joining us now to run the numbers on all of this. Hello, Harry.
Hello.
So talk to us about how Mamdani has closed the gap with Cuomo.
First, I just want to say I have a Bronx accent, not a Queens accent, okay? So I think we can be all inclusive of... Yes, all inclusive of all 5 boroughs here. But look, yeah, exactly. Look, here's the deal. Andrew Cuomo has had a lead throughout this entire primary, but that lead has been closing. The most recent Marist poll, you can see it on your screen right there. He was ahead by 20 points over Mamdani back in May. It's now down to just 10 points. The lead has been cut in half, and I will note that this poll was actually taken a little bit while ago. It would not be surprising to me if that Cuomo lead was in fact a little bit smaller. So the boy from Queens, the now man from Queens, I think he might be a little bit worried based upon this polling.
It is interesting because, look, a lot of younger voters who are driving Mamdani's surge, let's call it, but young Democrats across the country have shown they're pretty fed up with the establishment, kind of writ large. How does that then factor into this race?
Yeah, look, we saw in 2016 in the Democratic primary Bernie Sanders riding a wave of young support. We saw the same thing in 2020, but the Democratic establishment fought back. This is basically a repeat of that, the fight that we've been seeing in the Democratic primaries, right, in the Democratic Party between younger Democrats and older Democrats. And the split in this primary is insane. I mean, under the age of 45, look at that, Mamdani is ahead by 48 points. Andrew Cuomo, though, makes up for that by leading by, get this, by 38 points among Democrats 45 and older. And, of course, they traditionally have made up the majority, the vast majority of Democratic primary voters in a mayoral primary in New York City. So this is not just a local race. It's a national race as well. You heard Isaac talking about the Donald Trump connection, but it's also about the soul, a fight for the soul of the Democratic Party. Can younger Democrats actually succeed in toppling a longtime name in Democratic Party politics? The polling says Mamdani will come close, but no cigar.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's not that simple, because with the ranked choice voting thing, he may not outright win, but if the people who are voting for the socialists, right, if they're ranking Mamdani second, right, if he's getting a lot of votes in regards to the down ballot votes, right, the second or third, fourth choice, however it works, then that could put him over top of Cuomo, right? It just depends on how the ranked choice voting kind of works out. Again, that whole race, right, is full of socialists, and you got Cuomo there, right? So if all of the socialists are basically ranking Mamdani high, right, either first or second, and Cuomo is being not ranked at all by a bunch of socialists, that could actually hurt Cuomo quite a bit. Again, with the ranked choice voting thing, that's what really makes this a wild card. We really, really, really don't know how this is going to turn out. Now, again, if this was a regular, straight, winner takes all election, then I would say, yeah, Cuomo has a pretty comfortable lead, right? And I wouldn't be that concerned about it. But because it's ranked choice voting, you just never know. You don't know.
And what about the primary mirroring a trend we're seeing nationally within the Democratic Party?
Yeah, this is another way we put it, right? What is the group of voters that saved Joe Biden in 2020? What was the group of voters that saved Hillary Clinton's bid in 2016? It was black voters, right? And we're seeing that racial divide again within the Democratic Party. Look, Mamdani leads among white voters by 8 points, but look at that lead that Andrew Cuomo has among black voters, 54 points. That looks so much like what we saw in 2020 with Joe Biden winning on the backs of black voters. You saw, obviously, Jim Clyburn from South Carolina endorsing Andrew Cuomo in this race. So, again, what we're just seeing here is a mirroring of the trends that we've seen nationally within the Democratic Party, where young white progressives want to go one way and older black moderates want to go another way. And right now, if the polling is to be believed, the moderate black voters will win once again that tug of war within the Democratic Party and get their man the nomination.
That's hilarious to me. That's so funny to me, because the white progressives, if their guy loses, if the radical Muslim socialist loses because of black voters, yeah, best believe you're gonna see how racist the white progressive actually is, right? I'm pretty sure their racism is gonna be on full display. you might see some N-words tossed around, right? If the black voters stop their socialist superstar from winning. So again, this is fascinating politics playing out.
And obviously, as we've noted, Cuomo's still in the lead with that polling that you noted, not super recent as in like the last 24 hours, but the latest polling that we have.
Correct.
It's a 10-point lead at this stage. Also, there's ranked voting in New York City. But taking all of that into account, what does that lead say to you at this moment in time?
Look, it says that Andrew Cuomo is the favorite, but he's not the runaway favorite. And the way we know he's not the runaway favorite is take that final round polling that we have this year in which Cuomo holds a 10-point lead. And look at how much the difference was between the final 2021 final round polling and the result. It was 11 points. If all of a sudden you put that 11-point miss, or, difference, I should say, between what we saw in 2021 and apply it to Cuomo's lead, he could win by 20. But he could also lose by a point to Mamdani. So this lead is not secure. Yes, Andrew Cuomo is the favorite going into Tuesday. But if we have a polling difference like we saw in 2021, Andrew Cuomo may, in fact, not win the Democratic nomination for mayor of New York, and that would be quite the story.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just saying with the ranked choice voting thing, anything can happen. If this guy wins, again, it's going to be full mask off socialism, right? The Democrat Party will officially be the party of socialists, and they can't deny it, right? They can't say, nah, we're actually democratic, right? Socialists, that's how they do it, right? That's how they master socialism. They throw the word democratic in front of it to try to, make it sound better, right? But no, they're going to be mask off far leftists. New York City is going to turn into London, okay? And the Democrat Party will officially be taken over by the freaks and the lunatics. So we're going to see what happens, okay? The election is coming up. This is one to watch. This is one that we should be watching closely. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.